So many student athletes are now beginning to play in their first games of the fall sports season, but the pressure to compete all while, doing the homework, trying to spend time with friends, and some teenagers also have part-time jobs. It can just be really stressful for your teen. Joining me now to explain how parents can help alleviate some of that stress for their kids is Lori Osachy. She's the owner of the Body Image Counseling Center. Good morning.
Morning.
Thanks for being here. Whether or not it's a child who is now transitioning from elementary to now middle school, or maybe from middle school to high school, the reality is there are now more responsibilities for that child. It can be overwhelming.
That's true. In college, too.
Yes.
For our college athletes.
Yeah, because they're off. They don't have mom or dad kind of hovering over them to remind them to do their homework and go to bed early.
Right. It's like having two full-time jobs, honestly.
Yeah. It's interesting, too, because I feel like I remember what we were doing when we were that age, and I don't remember having so many responsibilities. What can we do then to help our kids manage this? I mean, my sixth grader just last night was like, I'm so worried about this quiz that I have coming up on Friday. What if I don't get an A? I'm like, babe, that's okay. Just work hard and study and do your best.
Right. I agree. I think not to encourage them to be perfect, or they need to win, or they need to get that scholarship. It's difficult not to do that, but what's more important, our kids' balance and mental health, or all of these achievements, And I think kids that go into sports and school are usually very driven people anyway, and so they don't really need a lot of pushing necessarily.
There is a tendency, though, and I get it, because everybody wants to win, right? Whether or not you're playing sports or you're in your work or whatever. How do you as a parent then, manage that while you're not telling them if you must win, but in a way, subliminally, maybe you're like, well, if you go to bed early and you play really hard, then you'll win. You don't realize that you're saying and sending maybe the wrong signal to them.
Right. Well, that's a good question. I mean, it is important to win, but it's also important to learn how to lose, and that failure is a step to success. We can have that kind of philosophy, and it'll help our kids in life. No one can win all the time. I mean, it is nice to win, but also I think that you can put those things together: taking care of yourself, getting enough rest, having social time, having a separate hobby that can help you win. There was actually, I was trying to remember the name. There was an Olympic swimmer who a few years ago won all of her events, and there was a big controversy because she was one of the few swimmers whose coach didn't make her practice every day, and the resting really helped her to excel.
And it's interesting, too, because I know those are some of your points, having a hobby other than the sport. There is a tendency now that kids only play one sport, and they often play it year-round. And as a result, it almost becomes work a little bit when you are performing at a certain level. Are you suggesting maybe even a hobby that has nothing to do with, let's say, volleyball or football or soccer or whatever it may be?
Absolutely. And even if it's just a few hours a week, I think that's really helpful to develop that other part of yourself and have a place where you can kind of escape and not have to perform.
So you're encouraging rest, of course. My daughter's been trying out for volleyball, and so she'll finish practice and come home and still want to practice. And while I love that, I'm a little bit like, really, it's dark, and it's just encouraging them that it's okay if they don't practice all the time. They can still be successful.
That's true. She's probably excited just about it starting, and it's very exciting. I'm sure once school gets in, she'll relax a little bit with all that. But yes, to tell them that, a lot of times I'll see athletes for eating disorders, unfortunately, and they realize, a lot of times they're trying to win and do well, and they're not getting enough nutrition or rest. And so a lot of what we tell them about is this will increase your performance. You need to take care of yourself. You can't just drive yourself to the limit.
And at what point then do you need to, as a parent, maybe get some outside help, like some counseling?
Right. Well, definitely if you see signs of eating disorders or substance abuse, if your child's personality has changed, they're getting depressed, they're not getting out of bed, they're talking in ways where they're not excited, not wanting to practice, and it goes on for more than a few weeks, then I think it's time to, talk to them about it, maybe get the school counselor's help or some outside help.
And there doesn't have to be a stigma over saying, hey, I need some help, I need to talk to someone.
There's a very interesting thing they've done with members of the military. They reframe the idea of therapy to help them go back into combat, to be able to, it's a tool to help them actually get back and do better. And I think we can reframe it that way with our athletes, that counseling can be a tool to help them perform better. It can be kind of seen as a sports psychology, not because they're weak or they're damaged. Right, exactly.
Sure. Lori Osachy, thank you for being here. Do appreciate it this morning. Of course, if you or your student athlete needs to seek support or counseling, you can contact the Body Image Counseling Center, Lori, by dialing 737-3232.